I've titled this video Clash of the Titans, but that might be a bit dramatic. Let's just call it Fight Night. Who's fighting? Well, it's the right-wing heavyweight sluggers, Ben Shapiro versus Tucker Carlson. Now, they both spoke on the first night of AmFest, or AmFest, which is a big event for conservatives held by Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization. It wasn't a debate. They didn't appear on stage at the same time, and they spoke about very different things, but it was a political slugfest all the same as they battered each other with criticisms, and there was a clear winner. First, Ben Shapiro's speech was a continuation of his recent speech at the Heritage Foundation, where he deplored the recent movement toward redefining conservatism, not as a set of principles, but as whatever the purported conservative influencer's mood is at a given time. And he used Tucker Carlson as an example of a cultural figure who's moved away from conservatism in his policy positions, yet is regarded as one of the premier conservative thinkers. Now, Ben Shapiro also deplored Candace Owens and her conspiracy theory podcast. As I mentioned, a continuation of that theme. Now, he called out Tucker Carlson for refusing to condemn Owens, who's falsely accused Turning Point USA of being involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination so that his lieutenants allegedly could take over the organization. She's also trafficked in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, repeatedly asserting that Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation was used as a tool of blackmail by the Mossad, which is Israel's intelligence agency. She's further suggested that the ongoing release of the Epstein files is a form of blackmail against President Trump, orchestrated by Israel. And that's a decidedly left-wing conspiracy theory. Now, here's Don Lemon's show, where one of the viewers alleges that that's why Dan Bongino left the FBI. Utterly false. Bongino wanted to return to his podcast. He's a former law enforcement officer who served as Kash Patel's deputy at the FBI, but he's returning to the private sector. President Trump explained all that. And, needless to say, that's Bill Clinton in the photo wearing the "let me get comfortable" frock. Okay, that's not Trump, that's Clinton. So Owens clearly is not a conservative, as she's trying to capitalize on hatred of the right wing and Republicans. Yet, the left wing asserts that Owens is a right-wing influencer, a self-serving assertion. Just ignore it. Now, Ben Shapiro seems to be saying that this is one of the dangers of redefining conservatism as whatever an influencer wants it to be at a given time. It makes all conservatives look bad, or could have the potential to make all conservatives look bad, depending on who the influencer is, which we obviously don't want as we come up on the midterms. Now, Tucker Carlson spoke next. His speech touched on numerous subjects without going into a lot of detail on any of them. Now, he talked about the Anti-Defamation League allegedly engaging in a campaign of bias against white people for decades. Now, he didn't offer specific examples. Moving on to the next subject. He said that he will never denounce anyone he loves to satisfy the mob, referring to his refusal to denounce Owens, but then he said he will never denounce anyone he loves because of their actions, which are two different things, very different things. Refusing to denounce someone he loves to satisfy the mob versus refusing to denounce them because of their actions. Then he said, he alleged that J.D. Vance is the only person in existence who can succeed Donald Trump as leader of the America First movement, which I thought was a confusing statement because the issue is whether Vance can succeed Donald Trump as president, and that will be decided by the primaries. Without primaries, it's impossible to know whether Vance will succeed President Trump or will turn out to be Kamala Harris. Now, for example, a recent poll from The Argument and Verisite showed that progressive Democratic Socialist AOC would defeat J.D. Vance in a hypothetical matchup in 2028, 51% to 49%, which seems to indicate he's viewed by voters as a Kamala Harris. Then Tucker Carlson went on to suggest that financial support for Israel isn't America First. He said killing people who committed no crime is immoral and nations who endorse it will be punished for it. Now, apparently he's speaking about Palestinian children in Gaza, but Israel could make the same statement about Hamas, Hezbollah, and all the rest who kill Israeli children and women and use their own people as human shields. Now, Tucker Carlson seems to be saying that Israel has some choice in the matter. But how would Israel have such unique agency when no nation on earth has that type of agency? Even Israel's enemies can't blame Israel for fighting back. They say that they do, but they're not being honest. Now, these are choices that nations and peoples have been forced to make from the beginning of time and even in modern times. Now, did all of those nations lack brain cells or the moral compass of Christ? Not in my view. So, should the United States have ignored the Holocaust and not intervened to defeat the Nazis? Should evil be allowed to conquer every part of the world? Does God want the good people of the world to lay down their arms so that evil people can kill all the good people and rule the earth? Not in my view. Now, as for the slugfest, Ben Shapiro came away looking and sounding a lot smarter than his opponent. It really was no contest. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.